Our big focus, US President Donald Trump and Elon Musk are at the only speaking through friends part of their breakup, it seems, because Vice President J.D. Vance and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles spoke with Elon Musk on the phone last Friday, after which Musk agreed to walk back some of the more explosive claims he made last week when he and Trump spent the afternoon feuding online, as you can see through the reactions playing out on your screens. On Monday, the tech billionaire dutifully tucked his tail between his legs, as some analysts say, and published an apology of sorts. And that's a strikingly different tone than the combative one he adopted last week when, in a series of escalating social media posts, some of which are playing out right now, Musk attacked the president's signature piece of legislation for growing the deficit by $2.4 trillion, called for Trump's impeachment, mulled over starting his own political party, and said the reason the Jeffrey Epstein files haven't been released is because Trump is in them. In fact, we have a reaction from Donald Trump about whether this bromance is back on and whether there's a thaw. Listen in.
With Elon, is there anything that you can do to forgive him? Could you see that happening?
Well, I have no hard feelings. I was really surprised that happened. He went after a bill that's phenomenal. It's the best thing we've ever signed in this country. And that's phase one. Phase two, phase three, all of a sudden is, it all comes together. It's coming together so well. And when he did that, I was not a happy camper. So it's too bad.
You said he had problems. What kind of problems? I mean, is it the drugs?
I don't know what his problem is, really. I don't know. I haven't thought too much about him in the last little while. But the bill is so good. When he went after the bill, this bill is going to turn around this country so fast your head will spin. It's good for everyone. It's also a tax cut. It's a massive tax cut. It's an extension of debt, which we need. We have to get that. And then we're going to start paying off debt at record levels. It's tariffs on certain people. It's, by the way, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security.
All your promises.
Yeah. And I mean, it's no tax on overtime. If a worker works overtime, there's no tax. That's going to be a great stimulant for the country. No, I think a bill is great. And
he just didn't
I think he feels very badly that he said that, actually.
And maybe it was something else. I mean, he had the fight with Scott Besson outside your office.
Yeah, well, they had not a fist fight, people, but I guess they had a little bit of a shouting match. But that's
Did you hear it?
That's typical. I heard it a little bit. That's sort of typical about,
Yeah.
That happens.
You were very kind to him. I saw you together, and I think he treated you a bit like a father. And
I was disappointed in him. But, it is what it is. That happens. Things like that happen. I don't blame him for anything. I was a little disappointed.
Could you reconcile?
Say it?
Could you reconcile with him, do you think? Could you forgive him?
I guess I could, but, we have to straighten out the country.
Yeah.
And my sole function now is getting this country back to a level higher than it's ever been. And I think we can do that. I think we're going to do it easily.
For an expert's view on the matter, we have with us Miranda Devine joining us on NDTV at the moment. Really appreciate your time, Miranda. Thanks so much. Musk has now backed off from his attacks following the phone calls, deleting his most critical social media posts about the president. But would you say that Musk has restored his position as Trump's first buddy, or does that seem like a distant dream at this point?
It's a distant dream, I think. Thank you so much for having me on. I don't think that their relationship can really be quite what it was before. Donald Trump gave Elon Musk an enormous amount of time and respect. And Elon Musk, of course, was very supportive of the president and really camped out in Philadelphia throughout the campaign, poured billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars anyway into Trump's campaign and did help him win, although I think he's taking credit for Donald Trump's win went against the grain and certainly wasn't seen by Trump or his office, his chief of staff, etc., as being truthful or helpful. But I think it's been described to me as it's like in a marriage. You have a couple, they have said things, they had a big fight, they said things that they shouldn't have said that they can't take back. And it's very hard to restore the trust to what it was. And I think we're at that stage. And Donald Trump, he said he bears Elon Musk no ill will. And that is exactly the impression I get. He is fond of Elon Musk. I think he feels quite paternal towards him, but he's too busy for nonsense. He's trying to solve a lot of problems.
Miranda, you in fact had a chance, as we've just seen, to sit down with the US president and really unpack what's happening between him and Musk. But do you agree that the push for a reconciliation between the world's richest person and the US president actually reflects how they both have something to gain from getting back on good terms?
I guess so. And certainly Donald Trump was not against reconciling with Elon Musk, but I think he just felt disappointed and a little betrayed. I don't think he cares less what Elon Musk wrote about him. He's annoyed that Elon Musk has got in the way of his one big, beautiful bill because the way that the numbers for the Republicans in both the House and the Senate are on a knife's edge. I mean, they have such tiny majorities, 3 in one and 4 in the other. And there are already some recalcitrant congressmen who may have been given a bit of extra spine by Elon Musk's opposition. And I think the feeling I get from Donald Trump is that really Elon isn't upset so much about the bill. He's sort of seized on that and talked about debt and deficit, but he knows full well that Donald Trump made promises in his campaign that he intends to keep, and that this bill was never about cutting the debt or the deficit. That's for future bills, another phase, as Donald Trump just said. But I think the feeling in the White House is that Elon just got upset because he just got offside with some of the other cabinet members, powerful ones like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, for instance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He was a bit like a bull in a china shop. He's used to doing things his way, being the boss in private industry, and government bureaucracies run very differently. And you can't just come in willy-nilly and send emails to employees and get them to tell you what they've done that's useful that week. It just rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. And although those of us on the outside who cheered it on because, you know, Conservatives want smaller government, I guess it just made the cabinet secretaries' lives a lot more difficult. And he was causing great unrest in some of these portfolios. So I think the pushback
for 130 days, there was sweeping measures that we noticed. But Miranda, we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us on NDTV, and we look forward to staying in touch with you.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, in the other big update from the US, well, China has agreed to ease curbs on rare earth exports in a new trade deal with the United States, although Beijing left room to resurrect the restrictions if trade tensions escalate. China actually plans to put a 6-month limit on mineral export licenses, ensuring future leverage. And in return, the US will relax limits on some manufacturing exports to China. As you know, in recent weeks, China's rare earth restrictions effectively revealed the world's pain point, giving Beijing a sort of sword that could hang over future trade negotiations. The de-escalation then was necessary to avert a supply chain crisis, but the superpowers are merely back to the already tense state of affairs from before the 2nd of April. By the way, the US president has said that US personnel were being moved out of the Middle East because, and I quote, it could be a dangerous place, adding that the United States would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. The unusual steps are taking place ahead of a crucial round of nuclear negotiations between the US and Iran, and amid threats made by Tehran to launch missiles against American military bases in the region in retaliation for any attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Now, you must note that on Wednesday, the UK government's Maritime Trade Operations Division, they issued a warning to mariners about increased tensions in the Middle East, which could lead to an escalation of military activity. So that's as far as the UK is concerned. Well, now to the card that offers the rich a fast lane to residency. US President Donald Trump's long-touted gold card, which offers foreigners a path to US citizenship after paying $5 million to the government, is now open for business. But even if you have all the money, there's a wait list as far as trumpcard.gov is concerned. But as far as the big picture is concerned, Trump has suggested that this gold card could replace the EB-5 investor visa, and it could result in 1 million in sales and raise enough money to retire the national debt, believe it or not. Trump has said that he is not seeking approval from Congress, as he is not providing gold card buyers with citizenship, only a path to citizenship. But I'll tell you where the intrigue lies. It's unclear at this point whether the Trump administration could terminate or change the EB-5 program without congressional approval. Well, to LA now, where US troops are authorized to detain people until police can arrest them, as hundreds of Marines prepare to move into a city rocked by protests over Donald Trump's immigration raids. Take a look at these dramatic visuals coming in from Los Angeles. This as a total of 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines have been deployed to help quell the unrest there. And in LA, nearly 400 people have so far been arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants. 157 people have been arrested for assault and obstruction, including one for the attempted murder of a police officer. Elsewhere, the immigration raids have continued alongside the National Guard troops. Well, moving on now, as the US State Department reaffirmed its strong support for India's fight against terror, a top US military official said the country needs to have a relationship with both India and Pakistan because of the Pakistan military's role in countering the threat from the Islamic State Khorasan province. State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said that Christopher Lando, the Deputy Secretary of State, met with the Indian parliamentary delegation last week, and he also reaffirmed the United States' strong support of India in its fight against terrorism and strategic partnership between those two countries, to quote them. The delegation, led by Congress MP Shashi Tharoor, had met Mr. Lando last week in Washington as part of Delhi's global outreach effort after Operation Sindoor. Meanwhile, during a hearing on Tuesday by the House Armed Services Committee, an American general, the chief of the US Central Command, Michael Kurilla, said that as a phenomenal partner in counterterrorism, Pakistan was referenced.
American doublespeak, double standards, duplicity as far as Pakistan terror has always been something that's been just below the surface of the India-US relationship. But there has perhaps not been a week like this week where it has become so apparent and so manifest. Remember that we are still in the post-Pahalgam, post-Operation Sindoor atmosphere. Indian delegations have just come back from abroad, including the United States, trying to rally support and build India's case as far as Pakistan's terror and terrorist ways are concerned. And yet you have a time when not only is President Trump personally coddling, complimenting Pakistan, calling the Pakistan Prime Minister his good friend, hyphenating India and Pakistan. But you have a situation where the Trump administration, according to some reports, is going to be hosting General Asim Munir, or Field Marshal as he likes to call himself, at an official function in the United States very soon. That's message number one. Message number two, you've got the chief of the US Central Command, whose area of responsibility is, covers India and Pakistan and the Middle East and Afghanistan, etc., calling Pakistan a phenomenal partner in the context of the war against terror and the India-Pakistan relationship, saying it cannot be looked at as a binary. So these two validations, very positive validations for Pakistan, coming explicitly from the US administration, from the president himself, his Pentagon and State Department, his general looking after the very, very crucial and sensitive Central Command, can't be seen as just run-of-the-mill or routine comments. They are obviously designed to send out a message. There may be a context to them, of course. There is a lot of realpolitik, there is pragmatism, there is a lot of self-interest when it comes to the United States and Pakistan. But there is this increasing feeling within the Indian system, that's what we're hearing, that there is a sense of surprise, and India is taken aback by the very direct and hard-nosed manner in which the United States under Trump appears to be coddling Pakistan, felicitating its general, complimenting its prime minister, calling it a phenomenal partner, that doesn't sit well with India. Does India have options? Are these messages only on the surface? Is the real diplomacy happening on the back channel where India doesn't really need to worry about? Would it be an exaggeration to say that the United States is far from being a non-weatherproof, ally in the war against terror? All of these are questions that will occupy the Indian mind and certainly of the leadership, because this comes at a time, like I said, when delegations of very senior members of parliament from across parties have just returned from abroad. They've been hosted by the Prime Minister, and still there is this sense that the United States has eroded India's trust as far as the war on terror is concerned. I think the path ahead is going to be a difficult one for India to navigate, but the diplomatic machine is alive and kicking as far as trying to build an army against terror, globally speaking. But the signs definitely from a country like the United States are not good, even keeping or even assuming that this is under a whimsical president like Donald Trump.
Moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar has said that India places a high priority to its relations with the European Union, the centerpiece of which is the free trade agreement negotiations that are making very good progress. Here's his reaction.
This decade, the interest in Europe, the intensity of ties has grown. But right now, you catch us at a very important moment. We had the College of Commissioners,
of course,
very soon after they came into office, visit India collectively. We know that's a very unusual and very positive step. And we are really looking at, deepening our ties. So the centerpiece is the FTA,
of course,
which has been under negotiation for some time now. But everything that I heard, including this morning from Commissioner Shevchovich, was very positive. I think we're making very good progress.
Slipping into a very quick break for now. Back in a moment with the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned. Well, while the next US ambassador to India is yet to be named, Indian-American S. Paul Kapoor is President Donald Trump's nominee for the position of Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs, a top diplomatic position wherein he will oversee America's intersections with India and its neighborhood, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Here's what Paul Kapoor had to say regarding the nomination.
I begin with our partnership with India. The United States and India share a host of common interests, ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific region, which is not dominated by China, expanding bilateral trade, building our economic relationships so that it is more symmetrical and more profitable, facilitating technology sharing and innovation and ensuring access to the energy necessary to fuel our economies, and if confirmed, I'll work to further advance U.S.-India relations and put our partnership on course to realize its tremendous promise. On Pakistan, if confirmed, I will pursue security cooperation where it is beneficial to U.S. interests, while seeking opportunities for bilateral collaboration in trade and investment. South Asia recently avoided a costly conflict, with Vice President Vance and Secretary Rubio intensely engaged on the issue. If confirmed, I will continue to promote long-standing U.S. security interests with India and Pakistan through the pursuit of peace and stability and the fight against terrorism.
In other news, a Manhattan jury found Harvey Weinstein guilty of a sex crimes charge in a retrial after a state appeals court last year overturned the former movie mogul's 2020 conviction. Weinstein, once one of the most powerful figures in Hollywood, was accused by prosecutors in the case of raping an aspiring actress and assaulting two other women. And the 73-year-old pleaded not guilty and has denied assaulting anyone or having non-consensual sex. In closing arguments on the 3rd of June, the prosecution told the 12 jurors that the evidence showed how Weinstein used his power and influence to trap and abuse women. Moving on, a Pakistani man was extradited from Canada to the United States to face charges of plotting to carry out an attack on Jews in New York City. This is what the Justice Department had said. Maha Siddiqui has been tracking this case very closely. She joins us with a quick update at the moment. Maha, what's the latest you can disclose to our viewers?
So this person is going to be presented in court today, and the charges against him are that he's a supporter of ISIS and was planning to carry out an ISIS-styled attack in New York against the Jewish community. And he was detained, in fact, and taken into custody last year in September. That's when he was attempting to cross the border from Canada to the United States. He was provisionally arrested 12 miles from the United States by the Canadian authorities at the border. And after that, he was deported to the United States yesterday, that is the 10th of June. And today is when he will be produced in court. The charges, as I've already pointed out, are providing material support to ISIS and plotting to carry out an ISIS-styled attack against the Jewish community. Those are the charges against this Pakistani national who was residing in Canada.
As always, Maha, thanks so much for joining us with that crucial update. Well, to the UK now, where the country has decided to prioritize defence spending by reducing overseas development aid. So their defence spending will now rise to 2.6% of their GDP by April 2027. But Britain has still not committed to an increase in defence spending to 3.5% of the GDP by the mid-2030s at this month's NATO summit, in line with a proposal from the alliance's Secretary General.
The signs of our age of insecurity are everywhere.
Meanwhile, NVIDIA will build its first artificial intelligence cloud platform for industrial applications in Germany, and the technology will combine AI with robotics, and it will help car makers such as BMW and Mercedes-Benz with processes from simulating product design to managing logistics. As always, thank you so much for investing your time in watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.